The vast chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with tension. Hundreds of alien representatives sat in tiered rows that stretched upward into shadow. Light panels glowed softly overhead, illuminating beings of every shape and form, from crystalline structures that shimmered with inner light to bulbous, many-limbed creatures that floated in specially designed gravity pods. At the center of the chamber stood a large holographic display showing a blue-green planet spinning slowly against the black of space. Earth, a Class 12 Deathworld. Order, call High Counselor Mux, tapping a metal rod against the podium. The buzzing conversations quieted. We will now continue our discussion regarding the human situation. This was the third day of debate, though many felt the outcome was already decided. 6 standard months ago, humans had detected and captured an automated survey probe at the edge of their solar system. The breach of protocol had triggered an emergency session of the Council. Representative Droll of the Vex Confederation rose from his seat, his pale blue skin reflecting the light. My fellow Council members, I have reviewed the data collected on these humans. Their history is drenched in blood. They wage war over resources, territory, even abstract concepts. They poison their own world. They exterminate other species simply by existing. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. Most council races had evolved on gentle worlds, Class 3 to 5 environments with minimal predators and abundant resources. Violence was nearly unknown in their histories. Perhaps most concerning, Droll continued, is their adaptability. Humans survive in deserts, tundra, mountains, and jungles. They endure radiation levels that would kill most of us. They consume substances that would be toxic to nearly every council race. The holographic display shifted to show humans fighting with primitive weapons, then with increasingly sophisticated technology. Images of warfare, environmental destruction, and violent sports flickered before the assembly. Admiral Krell of the Taurus Military Cooperative stood next, his armored exoskeleton clicking as he moved. I concur with Representative Droll. My analysis indicates that if humans gained access to interstellar technology, they would become an immediate threat. Their resource consumption patterns alone would destabilize 3 sectors. Many nodded. The standard procedure was clear: quarantine Earth until humans either destroyed themselves or evolved beyond their violent nature. Estimates suggested this might take thousands of years. Only one voice spoke against the majority. Representative Pax of the ancient Lumina consciousness, a race that had evolved on a harsh Class 9 world themselves, floated forward. Unlike the others, Pax appeared as a gentle swirl of light contained within a transparent shell. My friends, I urge caution and judgment. Pax's translation unit hummed. We watch their wars and see only violence, but consider what they've created despite their harsh world. Their music, their art, their capacity for cooperation even among different groups. The display shifted again, showing humans helping each other after natural disasters, building communities, creating artwork, and scientific breakthroughs. In just 3,000 years, they'd gone from stone tools to exploring their own solar system. Pax continued. Their adaptability isn't just physical, it's cultural and intellectual. They learn and change rapidly. Admiral Krell's appendages waved dismissively, all the more reason to contain them. Give them 1,000,000 years to evolve past their violence. Then we can reconsider. The debate continued as the holographic Earth turned slowly in the center of the chamber, its inhabitants completely unaware that distant beings were deciding their fate among the stars. Representative Pax refused to back down despite the growing opposition. As the 4th day of debates began, the Lumina delegate floated to the center of the chamber, glowing slightly brighter than normal, a sign of emotional intensity for their species. Before we vote on quarantine, Pax said, I request permission to present additional evidence about humans. High Counselor Mux nodded reluctantly. You may proceed, but the Council's patience grows thin. The holographic display at the center of the chamber flickered and changed to show a human settlement recovering from what appeared to be a massive storm. Beings of different colors and shapes worked together, passing materials hand to hand, rebuilding structures. Observe how they respond to crisis. Pax said, when disaster strikes, humans often set aside their differences to help one another. Admiral Krell clicked his mandibles irritably. Temporary cooperation in crisis is common among many species. It proves nothing. Then consider this, Pax continued, undeterred. The display shifted again to show humans caring for injured animals, replanting forests, and cleaning pollution from oceans. They attempt to repair damage to their own world. They recognize their mistakes and try to correct them. This suggests capacity for growth. Representative Droll stood again. Pax, with respect, these are cherry-picked examples. For every human helping another, there are 10 engaged in conflict. For every conservation effort, there are 100 acts of destruction. Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. Most delegates had already made up their minds. Pax's glow dimmed slightly but didn't fade completely. Then I ask you to consider one final perspective. The display changed to show the stars from Earth's view, a limited local perspective of the galaxy. Humans know they are alone, Pax said softly. Unlike us, they have developed without guidance, without knowledge of the greater community of worlds. They've made mistakes, yes, but they've made them in isolation, fumbling in the dark. The chamber grew quiet. This was a perspective few had considered. Now imagine, Pax continued, what humans might become if given the chance to join us. Their adaptability, the very trait we fear, could become their greatest gift to the Council. They solve problems differently than we do. They see patterns we miss. They endure conditions we cannot. Representative Mook of the Trader Guilds, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing, Pax? We cannot simply welcome a violent Deathworld species into the galactic community. Pax's shell rotated slowly, a gesture equivalent to a thoughtful nod. I propose a test. Not immediate quarantine, not immediate contact, but a carefully designed interaction to better assess their potential. Admiral Krell stamped his foot, creating a resonating boom. Absolutely not. Any technology we share could be weaponized. Any knowledge could accelerate their development in dangerous ways. The chamber erupted in debate. Some council members now seemed uncertain, looking back and forth between Pax and Krell. High Counselor Mux raised all 4 hands for silence. We will put this to a preliminary vote. Those in favor of immediate quarantine. Nearly 70% of the delegates raised their appendages or signaled agreement. Those in favor of Representative Pax's proposal for a control test. A much smaller number, perhaps 20%, indicated their support. Those who require more information before deciding. The remaining delegates signaled, including, surprisingly, Representative Mook of the Trader Guilds. Councillor Mux nodded gravely. The majority favors quarantine, but without the required 80% consensus. We will continue discussions tomorrow. Representatives Pax and Krell will each prepare detailed proposals for final consideration. As the session ended, Pax floated away from the chamber, glowing dimly. One more day to convince them. One more chance to change humanity's fate. The 5th day of deliberations never began as planned. Instead, alarms blared throughout the council station, their urgent tones cutting through the pre-session conversations. The holographic display in the center of the chamber shifted automatically to show a tactical overlay of Earth's solar system. A small red dot blinked near the 4th planet. High Counselor Mux rushed to the podium, all 4 arms working control panels frantically. Emergency protocols activated. All non-essential personnel clear the chamber immediately. The delegates remained seated, too stunned to move. Nothing had disrupted council proceedings in over 200 cycles. Admiral Krell pushed his way to the front. What is happening, Counselor? Mux's skin paled to a sickly yellow. Scout Ship Horizon is under attack in the human solar system. Pirates of the Raxus combine. The display zoomed in to show a small council vessel fleeing from a larger, heavily armed ship. Weapons fire streaked between them. Impossible, muttered Representative Droll. That system is under observation protocols. No ships are authorized except for passive monitoring drones. Captain Lorne of the Scout Fleet stood, his thin frame trembling with anger. The Horizon was on routine border patrol when it detected the pirates entering restricted space. Captain Jens pursued according to protocol. The Council watched in horror as the pirate vessel landed a direct hit on the Horizon's engine section. The scout ship tumbled out of control, trailing debris and radiation. "They're heading straight for Earth," someone whispered. The tactical display confirmed it. The damaged ship was caught in the planet's gravity well, its trajectory a blazing line toward the surface. The pirate vessel broke off pursuit, quickly jumping to faster-than-light travel and disappearing from sensors. "Options," demanded Mux. Admiral Krell's exoskeleton clicked as he assessed the situation. "None. The ship will crash before our nearest vessels can intercept. The Horizon's stealth systems are compromised. The humans will detect it." The chamber erupted in panicked voices. Representatives from dozens of worlds all spoke at once. "This violates every protocol. The humans will recover advanced technology. We must destroy the wreckage." "What about the crew?" Mux slammed his rod against the podium repeatedly. Silence. When order returned, he turned to Captain Lorne. "Status of the Horizon's crew." Lorne consulted his datapad. 5 crew members. 4 dead from the attack. Captain Jens survived, but is badly injured. Life support is failing. Representative Pax floated forward. "We must attempt rescue." "Impossible," Admiral Krell countered. "By the time our nearest ships arrive, it will be too late. The crash will be in approximately 6 hours. The nearest response vessel is 12 hours away at maximum speed." The holographic display shifted to show the projected crash site, a forested region in the northern hemisphere of Earth, sparsely populated but not completely remote. "How do we contain this?" Mux asked, addressing the entire council. Admiral Krell stepped forward. "We have only one option. Once the ship crashes, we must sterilize the site from orbit. A focused energy beam can eliminate all evidence." "And Captain Jens?" asked Pax softly. Krell's mandibles clicked once, softly. "An unfortunate casualty. We cannot risk contact." "This is exactly what I warned about," Droll said, his pale blue skin now almost white with stress. "One encounter with humans, and our entire security protocol is compromised." While the Council argued, the display showed the damaged scout ship entering Earth's atmosphere, a bright streak across the night sky of the sleeping planet below. Impact alerts flashed across the screen as the ship crashed into the dense forest. Seconds later, the ship's emergency beacon activated, transmitting sensor data back to the Council. The display now showed the crash site from the ship's external cameras. The vessel had broken into several pieces, but remained largely intact. Captain Jens was unconscious but alive, trapped in the command module. And in the distance, moving through the trees toward the crash site, a light bobbed in the darkness. A human was coming. Jack Miller had been restocking his remote forest cabin when the night sky lit up with fire. As the local park ranger, he had seen meteor showers before, but this was different. The object moved too slowly, changing direction before disappearing behind the tree line with a ground-shaking crash. The Council watched through the Horizon's emergency beacon cameras as Jack approached the crash site. He moved carefully through the forest, flashlight beams sweeping across the ground. When he reached the clearing created by the impact, he stopped and stared. "By the void," whispered Representative Droll, watching the humans' reaction. "Our first direct contact with humans. And it's through a disaster." Jack circled the wreckage cautiously. The Council could see him through multiple angles as he examined the clearly non-human technology. The ship's hull was made of materials unknown on Earth, with strange markings and impossible angles. Parts of it still glowed with residual energy. Any reasonable creature, the Council members thought, would run away in terror or call for military assistance. Instead, Jack did something that stunned the watching aliens into silence. He began searching for survivors. "Look at that," Pax said softly. His first instinct is to help. Or to capture, countered Krell. We don't know his intentions. Jack moved around the largest piece of wreckage, clearing debris with his hands. When he found the command module, he peered through a cracked view panel and saw Captain Jens slumped over the controls. The human's reaction was immediate. He searched frantically for a way to open the module, trying various panels and seams. When nothing worked, he returned to his vehicle and came back with tools. He's trying to rescue Jens, said Captain Lorne in disbelief. For the next 20 minutes, the council watched as Jack worked to open the damaged module. He finally managed to pry open an emergency hatch designed for maintenance. When the door swung open, Jack came face to face with his first alien. Captain Jens was clearly not human. His skin was a pale lavender, with 4 arms and a narrow face featuring large pupil-less eyes. Purple blood seeped from wounds on his upper torso and head. Jack froze for exactly 3 seconds. Then, showing remarkable composure, he carefully reached in to check for signs of life. Captain Jens's vital signs are critical, reported a medical officer monitoring the beacon data. He needs immediate treatment. The humans seemed to reach the same conclusion. With gentle movements that surprised many council members, Jack carefully extracted Jens from the wreckage. He took off his own jacket and wrapped it around the alien, then lifted Jens in his arms. "What is he doing?" demanded Droll. "Taking him for help," Pax replied, glowing brighter with excitement. The council watched as Jack carried Jens back to his vehicle, a simple combustion engine transport. He placed the alien captain in the passenger seat with remarkable care, securing him with safety restraints before driving away from the crash site. "We're losing visual," announced a technician. "The beacon's medical scanners are still tracking Captain Jens," another replied. "The human appears to be taking him to a structure approximately 15 kilometers north." Admiral Krell's exoskeleton rattled with agitation. "This changes nothing. We must still sterilize the site before more humans arrive. And now we must locate and eliminate Captain Jens as well." "No," said High Counselor Mux, surprising everyone. "We will observe first. This is unprecedented. A human is trying to save one of our own. Or capture and study him," Krell insisted. The medical officer interrupted. "Telemetry from Jens' uniform shows they've arrived at a small structure. The human is treating his wounds." The holographic display shifted to medical data. Captain Jens's vital signs, while still critical, had stabilized slightly. "Impossible," muttered Droll. "Humans have no knowledge of our biology." "Yet this one tries anyway," said Pax softly. "Perhaps there is more to these Deathworlders than we thought." Jack's cabin was simple but functional. A single room with a kitchen area, a bed, and basic medical supplies suited for wilderness emergencies. He had laid Captain Jens on the kitchen table, the only surface large enough to work on. "What do I do? What do I do?" Jack muttered to himself as he assessed the alien's injuries. Despite his training as a wilderness first responder, nothing had prepared him for this. The creature before him was humanoid, but clearly not human. Lavender skin, 4 arms, and anatomy that made little sense. The council watched through Captain Jens's uniform sensors as Jack carefully cleaned the purple blood from wounds using sterile water. He hesitated before applying antiseptic, unsure if it would help or harm the alien biology. "Temperature dropping," reported the medical officer monitoring Jens's vital signs. "The human environment is too cold for Captain Jens's physiology." On screen, Jack seemed to notice the alien shivering. Without hesitation, he cranked up the cabin's heating system and brought several blankets, layering them over the wounded captain. "Look at that," murmured Representative Pax. "He's adapting his own environment to accommodate a species he's never encountered before." "We should be discussing containment, not praising this human's primitive medical attempts," snapped Admiral Krell. High Counselor Mux raised a hand for silence. "Continue observation." Jack was now attempting communication. He spoke slowly while pointing to himself. "Jack, My name is Jack. Captain Jens's eyes fluttered open briefly. He made a weak sound, then slipped back into unconsciousness. Jack frowned with concern. He checked the alien's pulse, surprisingly finding the right spot on what could be considered the neck, and his expression grew more worried. Whatever he felt was clearly not good. His cellular oxygen levels are critically low, confirmed the medical officer. Captain Jens requires higher oxygen concentration than Earth's atmosphere provides. The council watched in amazement as Jack seemed to reach a similar conclusion. He rummaged through a storage cabinet and pulled out an emergency oxygen tank with a mask. "Remarkable," whispered Captain Lorne. "Without any training in xenobiology, he's correctly identifying a basic life support need." Jack carefully placed the mask over Captain Jens's face, adjusting the flow to its highest setting. Within minutes, the captain's vital signs showed slight improvement. "He saved him," Pax said, glowing brightly. "At least temporarily." Throughout the night, Jack never left his patient's side. He monitored vital signs, adjusted blankets, and cleaned wounds. When the alien's purple blood soaked through bandages, Jack replaced them without hesitation. When fever set in, Captain Jens's body struggling with the unfamiliar Earth bacteria, Jack placed cool compresses on his forehead. "Why?" demanded Representative Droll, genuinely confused. Why would this human expend such effort on a creature he doesn't know? "There's no benefit to him." "Perhaps that's exactly what we've been missing about humans," replied Pax. By morning, Captain Jens regained consciousness. The council watched anxiously as the captain's visual feed showed Jack sitting beside him, offering a cup of water. "Hello," Jack said gently. "Can you understand me?" Captain Jens blinked slowly. His translator had been damaged in the crash, but he understood the meaning through tone and gesture. He weakly reached for the water. Jack helped him drink, supporting his head carefully. Then he pointed to himself again. "Jack." Captain Jens nodded slightly and touched his own chest with one of his 4 hands. "Jens." The council chamber was completely silent as they watched this exchange. The human and the alien regarding each other not with fear or hostility, but with cautious curiosity. "Jack," repeated the human with a smile. "Jens," replied the captain. "Friend," Jack added, placing his hand gently on Jens's shoulder. Pax turned to the council. "Tell me again why we fear these beings." The emergency session of the Galactic Council stretched into its 2nd day since the crash. The once orderly chamber had become a scene of constant activity, with delegates huddled in small groups, arguing intensely. Screens around the chamber displayed the ongoing situation on Earth, Jack caring for Captain Jens in the isolated cabin, while, elsewhere, human authorities had begun investigating the crash site. "We've lost control of the situation," Admiral Krell declared, his exoskeleton clicking rapidly in agitation. 3 separate human government agencies have secured the crash perimeter. They're examining pieces of advanced technology as we speak. High Counselor Mux called for order. "We must decide on immediate action." Admiral Krell proposes a sterilization operation, destroying all evidence of the crash, including Captain Jens and the human who rescued him. "It's our only option," Krell insisted. "The contamination spreads by the hour." Representative Pax floated forward, glowing with unusual intensity. "Sterilization is unconscionable. We would be killing one of our own officers and a human who has shown nothing but compassion." "Compassion?" scoffed Representative Droll. "Let's not be naive. This human has the only living alien specimen on the planet. Once he recovers from his shock, he'll alert his authorities." As if on cue, the main display showed a new development. 3 vehicles were approaching Jack's cabin along the narrow forest road. They bore the markings of the local human government. "It's happening," Krell said grimly. "Exactly as predicted." The council watched tensely as uniformed humans exited the vehicles and approached the cabin. Jack met them at the door, speaking animatedly while blocking their entry. "Audio translation ready," announced a technician. "Need to understand what we're dealing with. one of the officials was saying. "This is a matter of national security." Jack stood firmly in the doorway. "He's injured and needs medical attention, not interrogation. I've been in contact with him. He's not hostile." "Step aside, Miller. We have orders." "No." Jack's response shocked many council members. "He's under my protection. He's a person, not a specimen. I gave him my word he'd be safe." The lead official's hand moved toward his weapon. "Don't make this difficult." What happened next stunned the council into silence. Jack stepped fully outside, closing the door behind him. He stood tall, arms at his sides. "You'll have to go through me first," he said quietly. "And I've already called Dr. Rivera from the university. She's bringing medical supplies specifically for him. The media has been notified too. If anything happens to either of us, it'll be public before you can cover it up." The officials hesitated, conferring among themselves. "He's protecting Captain Jens," Pax said with wonder. "Standing against his own kind." "A calculated move," countered Krell. "He's positioning himself as the primary contact with the alien, securing his own importance." The human officials finally retreated to their vehicles, but remained parked nearby, obviously waiting for reinforcements. Inside the chamber, the debate intensified. "This changes nothing," insisted Admiral Krell. "The situation still requires immediate containment." Representative Mook of the Trader Guilds, who had remained mostly silent until now, finally spoke. "Actually, it changes everything. Look at the global information networks." The displays shifted to show human news feeds and communication networks. The story was spreading rapidly. Reports of a possible alien crash, rumors of a survivor, debates about first contact protocols. "The humans aren't reacting with fear or aggression," Mook noted. "They're excited, curious. There are already calls for peaceful contact from their scientific communities. And military preparations from their governments," added Krell. "Both," admitted Mook. "But the point is, we're past the question of containment. The situation has evolved beyond our control. We must now decide how to engage." High Counselor Mux looked troubled. Never in 10,000 cycles has unplanned contact occurred this way. Pax moved to the center of the chamber. "Perhaps that's precisely why it's happened. Our perfect protocols and careful distance gave us a distorted view of humanity. Now we see them as they truly are. Complicated, yes. Sometimes frightening, yes. But also capable of remarkable compassion and courage." The council watched as Jack returned inside the cabin to check on Captain Jens, ignoring the officials outside. On another screen, human scientists carefully examined ship fragments with evident wonder rather than fear. "I propose direct contact," said Pax boldly. "Not in a century or a millennium, but now, today." The chamber erupted once more. The vote was much closer than anyone had predicted. After 12 hours of heated debate, the Galactic Council remained deeply divided. Representatives from peaceful worlds continued to advocate for containment, while those from more challenging environments increasingly sided with Pax's proposal for direct contact. High Counselor Mux called for final statements before the deciding vote. Admiral Krell stepped forward first, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. "Colleagues, I urge you to consider the long-term consequences. Humans evolved on a Class 12 Deathworld. Their entire history is shaped by competition, violence, and survival against overwhelming odds. Yes, this one human, Jack, has shown kindness to Captain Jens. But this is one example against thousands of years of evidence to the contrary." The main display showed images of human warfare throughout history, from primitive battles to modern conflicts. "We established contact protocols for a reason," Krell continued. "Species must evolve beyond their violent tendencies before joining the galactic community. Humans simply aren't ready." When Krell finished, Representative Pax floated to the center of the chamber, glowing with steady determination. "Admiral Krell is correct about one thing," Pax began. "Humans evolved in conditions we can hardly imagine. Their world tried to kill them daily, through predators, diseases, natural disasters, and harsh environments. But look at what that created. The display shifted to show Jack carefully changing Captain Jen's bandages, communicating through simple drawings and gestures. Outside the cabin, more humans had gathered, not military forces, but ordinary citizens bringing food, medical supplies, and messages of welcome written in dozens of languages and symbols. Most Deathworld species become the ultimate predators, Pax continued. They conquer through force. Humans did something different. They survived through cooperation, adaptation, and remarkable creativity. Yes, they fight wars, but they also write poetry. They create art and music. They look at the stars with wonder, not calculation. The chamber had grown unusually quiet. Captain Jens's medical telemetry tells us he's recovering, thanks entirely to Jack's care. Without training in alien biology, without advanced technology, this human kept one of our own alive through determination and compassion. Pax paused, looking around the chamber. We fear humans because they're different, because they're unpredictable. But perhaps that's exactly what the galaxy needs right now. A species that thinks differently, that solves problems in ways we haven't considered. The Raxus pirates who attacked our ship shouldn't have been in that sector. Piracy is increasing throughout the galaxy. Our perfect, peaceful systems are showing cracks. On the display, Jack was seen showing Captain Jen's pictures of Earth's diverse environments and peoples. The alien captain was sitting up now, clearly stronger, pointing at the images with obvious curiosity. I don't suggest we share all our technology immediately, Pax concluded, but I do propose we stop hiding. That we begin official contact, carefully and respectfully, not because humans have earned it by some arbitrary standard, but because we might need them as much as they need us. The vote that followed was the closest in Council history. By a margin of just 3 delegates, the motion for official contact passed. Within hours, a communication ship was dispatched to Earth. It would arrive in 2 standard days, making formal contact with human authorities. Captain Jens would serve as the initial ambassador, with Jack as his human counterpart. As the council session ended, Admiral Krell approached Pax privately. I hope you understand what you've done, Krell said quietly. You've changed the course of galactic history, based on the actions of a single human. Pax's glow pulsed gently, not based on one human, Admiral, based on what that human revealed about his species. They named their spacecraft after dreams and aspirations. Discovery, endeavor, hope. They look outward with wonder where others might see only resources or threats. On the main display, a final image showed Jack and Captain Jen standing together outside the cabin, looking up at the night sky where stars glittered like possibilities. Perhaps, Pax said, that's exactly the perspective our old galaxy needs.